So we're going to look at something that came up in the recent UFC 217. It came up in three of the highest profile fights of the event, which is there's a way we can unite the results of those fights and just one or two themes that came up. And it really comes back to this. Usually when a fighter loses by some punch getting through, you go back to the fundamentals of what, how are they boxing? And are they remembering to keep their hands up? Are they, are they aware of where those angles are open? And so in this case, we're looking at, my opponent here has got his hands up, and I noticed something when I jab and he jab. We're trading jabs, and when he jabs, he drops. This is something Jason actually does not do, so he's going to have to force himself to make a mistake. Hopefully he won't establish a bad habit. But in moving around and throwing that jab, he's dropping the rear hand, just leaving the head open because you get used to that from being on the outside. From the outside, you can get away with doing things and kind of studying the guy and doing this kind of, especially in MMA. And that does happen. But when you get in close, you got to be watchful because this shoulder, to some degree, this arm will cover you on the lead side, but the rear, let's just say my left side as a southpaw, that's really wide open. That's why if you were actually an orthodox fighter, we're both hitting each other with crosses because that's so open, all right? The rear side really has to be covered by the hand high. So if he goes back to his normal stance again, you have to recognize that there are two walls, one here and one here. The shoulder does a lot here, but there's no shoulder to cover my left side. So I've got to keep this up here like I'm talking on the telephone, keep my elbow in. All right? So what we're talking about here is that a lot of fighters in MMA, they train Muay Thai, but they don't have head movement. And it's just not really a part of Muay Thai, not the way it is in boxing. And a boxer can find their way around an immobile head that just hands up. So I notice as we're jabbing, and he notices when I'm on the outside line of this jab, I can't really exploit that opening, so he gets away with it. Because when he throws a jab, I'm always moving this way on this side of his jab line. I can't get to the left side of his face. So what I do instead is to draw his jab. I can either jab myself and come on the inside and sneak in with this hook, because I know and actually get behind his arm like this. Boom, and catch him on the chin. So I can feint with it, or I can throw an actual jab. So I can feint to keep the hand in position so I can throw a stronger hook, or I can jab and just kind of sneak it and just do that. All right? But sometimes, like I said, since if you go really fast, you can throw the jab, you can throw it like a feint, and he doesn't know it's not a real jab. My head moves to the inside as he jabs, and then I sneak the hook and catch him unawares. All right? So that's the first lesson, which is really two things. Find an inside line of their jab and throw the hook if you notice they're dropping their rear hand. And then also, move your damn head. Develop head movement. That's really important in MMA. Just like it's really important in a street fight. And really important in boxing. Okay, now lesson two is this, is that sometimes the person who throws the tight hook lands sooner when we're both throwing hooks at the same time. So mutual hooks. Sometimes you see double knockouts in boxing and in MMA, where both guys throw a hook at the same time. Boom! And they both go down. But if I'm throwing a tighter one, it lands first while his is still kind of winding up, then crack, and he just sort of drops and the punch doesn't really get to finish. It doesn't get to mature into something dangerous. Or if it did, my hand is up because I have those fundamentals. I have that good habit of keeping the hand up. That's why his is down, crack, and I catch him and his bounces off, and that's a good trade for me. But another thing that can happen is this. It isn't just the tight hook that always wins. Sometimes the wide hook wins because the short tight hook falls short. So he throws a tight one, I'm like, crack, and I catch him on the end of my wide hook. And his was just right about, not even to my shoulder range, and it doesn't really reach my chin. So it could go both ways. I've seen it go both ways. But the wider hook takes longer to get there, so that's more timing. But speed and getting there sooner is the tight hook. And anytime you're in there, last thing I'll say is keep those hands up. When you're out here doing this, that's fine and good. You move around. When you engage, you can't stand in here like I saw with Bisping. He was in there, and nobody would ever accuse these guys of not being tough enough, not being, tough as nails, and being able to duke it out with their hands down and get hit while they're hitting. But then you get knocked out that way too. If their punch is on the money and yours is late or off target, that's where you pay a price. So it's not about being tougher, it's just about being smarter, you say, okay, when I'm in this range, I gotta keep this here and I'm hitting. I'm gonna throw combinations and I'm aware of the open angles, but I'm not gonna come in like this and just go, with this hand down, just kind of turning in and hoping for the best. That's what guys do in street fights, but they both get hit. And it's not a desirable outcome. Okay.